want to thank Walter Chase for joining me all the way from Brooklyn and enjoy my conversation with Walter Chase of Straight No Chaser.
All right. Well, Walter, thanks again for doing this. I appreciate it as a chaser, and just, that you also have a podcast. And I know I mentioned it a few weeks ago when I was able to come see you guys. So in terms, well, it's kind of like, I don't want to rehash what you guys have done and but I kind of wanted to go over do you feel that you guys at Straight No Chaser are getting more popularity these days, or is it about the same? Do you just see the same people over and over during the tour?
Well, yeah, thanks again for having me. Straight No Chaser has had, several different, waves of, I guess you'd say, popularity. The initial wave was back in 2007 when we were trending and blowing up on YouTube with the video 12 Days of Christmas that got us signed to our record deal. So that was cool. And then, our family members were finding out about it. And obviously, the coworkers and different people. And then, we get signed to a record deal and become a professional group. So that was kind of the first wave. And then another wave would be when we first started doing full-time touring, when we were doing these 2.5, 3-month tours in October and December, and able to walk away from our jobs to do this full-time. So we've been doing that, these winter tours, which this past year was 75 tour dates in 67 cities, I think it was, and, going back and forth across the country. And, those, for the past, I'd say 4 years, we've had this consistent wave of winter tours. And, obviously when we come to certain cities, we see a lot of the same people. Seen you now a couple of times. And, it's one of my favorite parts of the show is when it's usually Charlie in this past run. He comes out and asks, how many people are seeing Straight No Chaser live in person for the very first time. And even after this many years going back to the same cities and sometimes the same exact date that we were there the year before, I'd say more than half the audience applauds or cheers at that point that they're seeing us for the first time. So, definitely more than half of the audience is saying that. So it's always exciting because we make a joke that we don't get any returning customers, we don't get anybody returning to see us for the second time, but that's obviously not true, but it's awesome to see that constantly new people are coming to check out the show. And, our tour this past year was just as solid as the year before. So the fact that we're not diminishing is really exciting, and hopefully that continues in years to come.
Well, I do have to admit that I was one of those first-timers, but I've been following you guys for years. I just haven't been able to make it to a show till a few weeks ago. So, yeah, it was finally awesome to finally be able to come see you guys, because I've been a fan for a while, and I even brought my parents, and it was their first time. I made them come with me. So, it was just great to see you guys live, because, I've been following you guys online and watching YouTube forever, but it's a totally different experience. And I know I've met a lot of other chasers online, and we have Facebook groups and stuff like that, and, they're always like, yeah, it's going to totally blow your mind, and it was a different experience. So, it was awesome, and obviously I'm going to keep coming as much as I can. So, in terms of, as you said, there's different ways. I know you guys, y'all have families, and you guys travel so much. Do you guys foresee this going for years to come, or do you guys just play it year to year?
Well, I'll speak for myself here. I hope that this is something that continues on, and we continue to grow with the albums that we put out, with new cities that we've never been to, new countries that we'll go to. For example, in February and March, we're going to be going all over Europe, and starting with 2 weeks in Paris at one residency, and then going all over mostly Western Europe. So, hopefully we'll continue to see new audiences and new countries, and this will go on as long as it'll have us.
Awesome. Yeah. Do you think that there's a resurgence in interest and overall education on the importance of acapella? Do you see that changing now that I know this is kind of one of those questions you guys get all the time, but do you feel like more and more people are aware of acapella and appreciate it than ever before?
That's a good question. I know myself. I've followed acapella since I was, really into it since I was about 14 years old. So, several decades now, and there seems to be a group or groups that hit at the same time, but because I'm so passionate about following acapella, it's hard for me to kind of see above to see the forest above the trees, or forest through the trees. I don't know what the expression is, but I will say this: the fact that Pentatonix is charting the way that they are, the #1 albums and their videos are getting hundreds, of millions of views. I'll say that I'm sure that between them, the show The Sing Off, even, what we've done and groups that have come before us also having resurgence